to Treknicity, a Star Trek podcast, a show where we banter back and forth about my favorite franchise.
And, yep, I'm Patrick. And you forgot to put that part in, didn't you, where you say your name?
Nah, whatever. I don't care. I'm Lars.
I'm Patrick, and this is the penultimate episode of Treknicity.
Yes. In this 11th and penultimate episode of the 7th and final season of Treknicity, we present to you a recap of the 10th episode of Season 2 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds entitled Hegemony. This also serves as the season finale for Season 2.
Yeah, I should have read the entire script. Anyway, so, yeah, I'm really completely not operating on anything tonight, so who knows? But this episode was really good. And it's exactly the way they needed to end it, except for not giving us enough Ortegas.
You're never going to let that up, are you? I mean, even if they gave like a whole
until we get our goddamned Ortegas episode, I'm not letting up. So let's get into it, which means we're hitting spoiler territory. You know that. You probably should have watched the episode before you watched us.
If you didn't, well, you've been warned.
Yep. Previously, it's pretty much Gorn, a little spackle. Gorn. That's pretty much what we see, because we know what's coming. Everybody knew what was coming. Last week's clip from Ready Room was, oh shit, it's the Gorn. We hadn't seen this giant scene with the Gorn ship showing up on the planet while Batel looks scared. It's time for that, you know that. So here we go. We open with Captain Batel. She drops the log. They're on the 20th century Midwest town planet because they obviously wanted to use a stock set. So why not?
Yep, had to use somebody's backlot. Why not?
It's Parnassus Beta.
Parnassus Beta.
Parnassus Beta. Yeah, and alongside her crew is Nurse Chapel, who's basically tagged along because she's getting a ride to go back and do her internship with Dr. Corby so that we can get the legacy character train going. After talking with Chapel, who's going to beam up to the ship, we get a call. She gets a call from Pike. He's happily saying that he's in good spirits because he's not singing every 10 minutes. Batel fills him out that the situation with the planet is complicated because they don't want to join the Federation because that could make them a target. And then the comms drop. A shuttle comes flying down and crashes, and the Gorns show up with that big ass shot of the ship showing. It's like, fuck.
Yeah, did that not have Independence Day vibes? I mean, come on, with the whole cloud with the ship emerging from the cloud.
Maybe. It could have been. Crap, I just realized the credit. We have to cut to the Enterprise before we get to the opening credits.
Mm-hmm.
Because on the Enterprise, they get the distress call from Batel. It's where she's saying, help, it's the Gorn. Enterprise takes off. We cut to, and April calls up Captain Pike and says, you can't start a war. Pike's, it's the Gorn. Fuck those guys. They're monsters. So the Enterprise rolls into the system, comes around the moon, and there's the USS Cuyahoga. It's done got blowed up.
Yeah, it kind of had vibes of 2009 Star Trek when they rock up on Vulcan and end up in a debris field.
Do we have to reference that? Do we have to reference the Abrams movies?
Well, I mean, it was the only one that exists, so.
Fair enough. But. So that's pretty much gets us to the opening credit. After the opening credit, we get the preview clip from last week. The Gorn have a jamming field up there. The Cuyahoga is pretty much smashed. They can't scan. They can't beam. They can't do anything. And they start looking to find a way to get to that planet-bound crew.
I have to laugh. I think I would have lost it if they had said, "Sir, we've been jammed." And just like jam starts streaking down the display. Only one man would dare give me the raspberry. I just got that.
I don't know what's wrong with you.
I love it. Anyways, please continue now that I've completely derailed your train of thought.
Okay, so the Gorns show up, and Starfleet, and immediately after that, Starfleet sends them a map. It's a map with a line on it, and the planet and all the people that they need to get to is on the other side of that line.
That's right. And they say, don't cross that line.
So, of course, Pike calls them to the ready room. They start figure out making plans. Everybody's pretty much volunteering to run down. And Pike beams in the Gorn killing box, which has got tricorders that can scan for them, phasers that are really good at killing them, nitrogen grenades to freeze their dicks off. It's a good thing. Because we don't want those little bastards reproducing. Spoiler alert for later.
Mm-hmm.
So we finally get Ortegas. Ortegas is finally going on an away mission because she figures out that if they cover themselves with junk and pretend to be junk, they can fall into the atmosphere and land. They can fly into the atmosphere and land safely.
I have to laugh about that whole sequence because they even make a point of mentioning it. You've been bugging me you've been bugging me forever to join these things. Yeah, I did, didn't I?
Yeah, even the writers know that Ortegas needs more screen time and needs her own damned episode. They're writing in that she needs a damned episode. Give her a damned episode in season 3. I have some ideas for what happens for season 3, episode 1, which is obviously going to be important for here. So they go. We got Pike, La'an, M'Benga, and Sam Kirk also load up. Ortegas flies, kind of limps the shuttle in, passes right by the Gorn. They go flying in, and she pulls the most ass-kicking maneuver. Pretty much the fly out of sight, the boom thing that you see everybody do. And you know she knows she didn't crash it.
No, of course not. You know that they have to live. At least to get to until they get to the conclusion of the episode.
Of course, Uhura on the bridge, Uhura likens the whole shuttle trick, basically says, hey, this is like in those zombie movies. Spock doesn't know what a zombie movie is, but hey, we know. We watch The Walking Dead.
Yep.
We watch cover yourself in blood and guts and walk through. Yay. Except this time it's metal and shit, so less nasty. So yeah. So yeah, Ortegas finally gets her moment to pull that cool thing. Meanwhile, Spock, being emo as Spock can be, is scanning the living shit out of the wreckage, trying to find the living, because Chapel might be in there, and Spackle died because I sucked and she's gonna leave. Me sad. Yeah, that's pretty much.
Yeah.
So, that's the setup. So, and I want to just go down to one of the points I'd point out. They take too long from this point. Where is Chapel? What happened to her? Because we already know she's not dead. If they kind of shown her on the wreckage moving, and we see her, she moves and starts to get up, and that's where we cut off. That would be great.
Yeah, I think they did leave it a little bit long. They could have given us a tease right there and then cut back to it later, but
yeah.
Whatever.
We just needed a tease because we knew she wasn't dead. We just didn't know where she was. Okay, so let's see here. Where were we? I lost my track completely. Okay, so they land on the planet. They quickly find the signal blocker, but it's big and troublesome. But they're looking for more people, so they keep moving. A Gorn youngling shows up, and they snuff it real quick. Just boom. One shot, one kill. But then dozens of them start coming. So they go for a barber shop, barricade themselves in, and watch the Gorn youngling eat the dead one. So, back on the ship, Uhura goes and finds Pelia because she has a crazy idea. So, Pelia is interested because anything crazy, we need a Pelia scene.
Yeah, because she's eccentric.
5 million flavors of joyously insane. It is a glorious thing. Luckily, she is not going to be the only engineer we're going to go, because after some discussion on the Gorn Youngling, Sam Kirk picks up some human life signs. So they go. They find a box. It's a trap. But the trap is laid by Montgomery fucking Scott. Scotty has just arrived. Apparently he was on this other ship, the Stardiver. It was a system away. The Gorn showed up, blew the hell out of it. He jumped on a shuttle and did some Scotty shit and flew to this system where apparently he crashed because we pretty much figured out that shuttle that crashed at the beginning was Scotty.
Yeah, so and this is the first official appearance of the character in Strange New Worlds. However, unofficially, the character we believe was Scotty made an appearance off camera in the season 1 finale, Equality of Mercy.
Yeah, that could have been Scotty, but it was not a named character.
Correct.
But yay, we got Scotty. And at the end of this episode, he's going to be aboard the Enterprise. So
I have a feeling he won't stay, because I don't know how well.
Yeah.
I don't know how well Peli has been received as chief engineer, but to be honest with you, I don't think that Scotty serves that long on the Enterprise. I'm pretty sure that he is fairly new when Kirk takes command.
He's going to be a one and done, basically.
Yeah.
He may show up in later seasons like Jim Kirk, but it is what it is.
Right.
Personally, I think they need to have less Jim Kirk in season 3 because you don't need James T. Kirk to show up all the time to prop up your ratings. So let's see here. So Scotty leads the Enterprise crew to the survivors, including Captain Battelle. So she's a little pissed because they showed up, but she's glad. So they find out a little more about what Scotty's old ship was up to. They were a system away looking at coronal mass ejections, and Sam theorizes that these CMEs might have been what triggered the activity of the Gorn. We also find out that Scotty did some cool Scotty shit and made his shuttle invisible, making it look like a Gorn ship. Because it's Scotty.
Of course.
Why not? And of course, meanwhile, Ortegas and Mbenga get to tending the wounded, discuss Dead Chapel, and that's all we get from Ortegas for this episode because the writers hate Ortegas apparently. Yeah. So, back on the Enterprise, more Gorn show up. Luckily, Peli and Uhura figure out where the signal's coming from, and they figure out how to take it out. Una volunteers that they could use the Kyoga's wreckage, fly that into it, and make it explode. Well, of course, this means Peli has to be a complete dick, and it's awesome. Taunts Una, if you'd thought of that, you'd have gotten an A+. Of course, Spock points out he's the only one that can pull this off, so he says he'll go and strap some rockets to it. At this point, I write there's a prediction that he's going to find not dead Chapel, because we hadn't seen what happened to Chapel at this point. But yep, Spock's going over. It's time for some spackle. Yep. Okay. On the planet, Pike saddles up and says, let's go to the shuttle. Battelle joins him, and Scotty does too, because they're going to go get the toy stuff so they can do the trick and maybe use shuttle to get off the planet disguised. So, from here on out, it bounces between the Kyoga's wreckage and the shuttle wreckage. So I'm just going to cover one and go back to the other one. So, we finally cut to the Kyoga's wreckage. We go through the hall where it seems it's still got some oxygen and the alarms are going off. There's bodies, and then we find Chapel. Surprise, she's not dead. Who could have guessed that?
Not me.
She managed to pry herself limp to sick bay, start doing some super fast wiring, buys herself an hour. Goes to a portal, spots the Enterprise outside. Meanwhile, Spock is slapped on his spacesuit, is flying in, lands with his mag boots and a bunch of rocket packs, straps the first one on, and then flies right past Chapel's window, where she bangs on it and forgets you can't hear anything in space.
In space, nobody can hear you knock on the portal.
Exactly. So she runs, finds herself her own spacesuit, grabs that as quick as she can. Next scene, we catch her. She's moving through the ship trying to find Spock. Instead, somebody's trying to get access to the ship. It turns out it's an adult Gorn in a spacesuit. We don't know what he's doing, but she backs off, finds and spots a frozen Jeffries tube. We cut to Spock, who's finally placing the last rocket on the bridge. The Gorn shows up and starts some shit. Chapel shows up to help start some shit. They fight. The Gorn's, of course, bigger and more powerful and is kicking Spock's ass and getting ready to crush his helmet, so he dies. Chapel manages to go for the phaser that Spock had knocked out of his hand, grabs it, shoots the Gorn. Gorn turns her around just long enough for Spock to rip something off and spike it through the Gorn's helmet. He writhes for a little bit, freezes, and he's dead. We knew that. We knew he was dead. And finally, they hit the rockets. Spock and Chapel fly off, get the handhold. Spackle is sort of back as the Kyoga starts making its way to the planet. Anything about that before I get
No. I mean, you're kind of... If I have anything to say, I'll jump in there.
Okay. So, meanwhile, while that's going on, we're cutting between that and the shuttle. Pike, Patel, and Scotty do make it to the shuttle, and they start scavenging when a baby Gorn shows up.
Baby Gorn, baby Gorn. You're going to hate me for that, aren't you?
Twice. Maybe 3 times. But he growls and then runs away. Pike tries to figure out a way, but says, Sky says, I'm getting back to work. Starts working. We find out the next scene we come back to, Batel shows why. She's got some Gorn eggs in her. She's trying to do a Hemmer. Joy. At this point, does this mean she's going in the fridge?
Yep.
Because that was a concern we had going into this episode, but we'll see what happens. Of course, she's suggesting that let me get the shuttle working. I'll fly into it, blow myself up. I mean, Hemmer did it, and I think probably in the future some Bajoran chick will do it.
Maybe.
But yeah. Meanwhile, Scotty says, "Hey, look at that!" And the wreck of the Kyoga comes down and smashes the living shit out of the thing. Enterprise. So back on the Enterprise, they get their comms back. They get their transporter back. Spackle gets beamed back. Spock wants to start apologizing, but they're called to stations, and Chapel throws up the cock block on the Spock apology. They go off their own separate ways. Pike, Patel, and Scotty beam up, and Chapel gets to start prepping the fridge. Literally, in this case, for Patel, throwing a stasis chamber till they can figure out the egg sitch. Because, otherwise it's a bet. Otherwise, she trades in the literal fridge for the metaphorical one, and So, of course, this is where we get the chief engineer of the Enterprise meets Scotty again, because, of course, he was one of her best students, and he got some of the worst grades. So they go to do some Scotty shit. We don't know what's going to happen, though, because Pike gets to the bridge. The Gorn start showing up. We find out that the Gorn beamed everybody else off the planet already.
Yep.
So that means Mbenga, La'an, Sam, and Ortegas are now Gorn prisoners along with a bunch of other people we don't give a shit about.
I kind of thought that might be the case when they beamed up, because the transporter beam didn't look quite Starfleet. If you go back and watch it, it looks noticeably different.
The ones on the plane, I might have missed that.
Yeah, it's an easy miss because I watched it twice today. I watched it during lunch break just to kind of get my initial watch on, and then I watched it again when I got home with my wife, and the second time's when I noticed it.
Yeah, I'll have to do a rewatch on that. So, the Gorn starts shooting. The Enterprise starts blowing up at various places because we got to explode panels. Hey, it's a starship. Let's blow up that panel. Starfleet sends orders for the Enterprise to retreat. Una's yelling for orders. Pike's looking, oh shit. And we get a to be continued.
Dun 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 dun.
I'm just going to say this. This is classic. Let's throw a real cliffhanger. Not a, we don't know what's going to happen next season, so we'll see what they do in the next episode or two, like season 1 with Una's arrest, which wasn't in the middle of the action. Something happened, and at some point we're going to see what happens in the future. Mm-hmm. This one is literally basically like best of both worlds. Oh shit, what's going on?
Oh, we have to wait until next season.
Bastards.
But instead of waiting 6 months like we did for TNG, we're gonna have to wait over a year probably with the SAG WGA writers strike going on. So we would have had to wait a year to start with, but now we're probably going to wait longer.
Yeah. Of course we support everybody in the picket lines trying to get some of that streaming revenue that they've been screwed out of.
And also they want them to keep them from using AI to digitally reproduce them without their permission. That
too, because
the technology is definitely there, so they want to get onto it quickly.
I mean, we've seen enough of them doing deep fakes. We've seen some uncanny valleys, but they're getting it close to where if you don't need somebody up front, you can stick people in scenes real easy, which isn't going to affect the Hollywood actors so much because that's going to be genuine performances. It's all the working actors that are going to get screwed on that
Pretty
bad.
much, yeah.
And obviously the writers know what AI is going to do to their script writing.
Of course, absolutely.
Maybe they'll get a little work cleaning up the stupid shit the AI shits out.
We'll see, for sure.
Yeah. So
let's hit the talking points for this episode. Starting off, you made a note here. Are the tricorder sounds based on the aliens ones? The sonic, the sonar. But yeah, definitely. I think that was very much a nod to that.
They use that in Star Trek 3 too, so not necessarily Aliens franchise, but then again, the Aliens I think came out before Star Trek 2, or did
Star Trek 2 was 1982? Yeah.
Look, 1982. Let's go.
Star Trek 2, Electric Boogaloo.
That was 86. Okay, so Star Trek did it first. Or Simpsons, one of the two.
Probably.
Did the original Alien have that thing in it too?
I think Aliens is when we heard that.
Yeah. Okay, so Aliens stole it from Star Trek then. Never mind. Okay. Like I said, we can skip the what happened to Chapel thing because we knew that because we already discussed it. So obviously Ortegas, Mbenga, Sam Kirk, and La'an are all Gorn prisoners.
Yep.
So what's going to happen with them? And are we going to see Ortegas pull something? Mbenga do some punching. Sam and La'an back him up, and Ortegas do the coolest thing ever because Ortegas needs her own damned episode.
Maybe.
Okay.
So will Battelle get metaphorically fridged instead of
Fridged,
literally?
not frigid. We don't want Battelle to get frigid, otherwise Pike can't get any. But will she get metaphorically fridged instead of literally? I think putting her in stasis means they're trying to find a way. They could still kill her, but I think that would be the shittiest thing to do. And then we have the woman in a refrigerator trope, and Trek can do better than that.
Yeah, I mean they already did that to Shelby and Picard. Come on,
Yeah.
not
Yeah,
cool,
they
dude.
killed her just for everybody to go, oh, shit.
Oh, this means business. These people mean business.
Yeah. I don't think they did. Now, I would say they did not do that to Ro. Ro's death forwarded the plot in general, and everything we really needed from her character had already been. They got all the important stuff done with her character, so she was disposable at that point.
Yeah, fair enough.
So, but yeah, Battelle's on deck for fridging. We don't want to see that.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Maybe this will be
Yep.
maybe this will be the time when they figure out how to successfully extract the Gorn eggs out of a host, so that the host doesn't die.
Well, we got Mbenga and we got Chapel. I'm pretty certain they can pull that off.
Yep. So there's a quote that Spock says in this episode: "All things are trivial in death." That's a really, it's like a very very logical thing for him to say, but it also shows the depth of emotion in how he feels about Chapel, and it also just it still gives a little bit of it gives some more depth to the character, instead of it just being very two-dimensional and just trying to be some vague recreation of Nimoy's character. I felt it was a really good instance. It was like, I mean, it's like immediately that line stuck out with me. Just the first time I heard it, I stopped. I was like, I gotta note that down.
Yep. So here's the question: which cliffhanger is better, Best of Both Worlds or this one?
This one, because we don't know what's going to happen next.
Oh yeah.
Best of Both Worlds, we knew what happened next.
Yeah, we've known that for decades.
But the music at the end of both the Best of Both Worlds Part 1 was pretty cool with that, the high strings and the chorus and
you're like, oh shit.
like,
this one was like, what are they gonna do? What are they gonna do? Oh, no.
Look, I'll tell you, there was a whole thing, like when we were in high school, and I remember after the conclusion of Best of Both Worlds Part 2, like we would sit there and talk like, what's it going to be like when next time Picard sees Q, because Q's the one that introduced him to the Borg, and then he became a Borg because of all this, and it's a big thing. And then the next time they see each other, it's just some random Monster of the Week style episode, and we're like, huh.
Oh well.
Oh. But I'd say this one's the better cliffhanger until we see the conclusion. Then I might change my mind.
Yeah, because we're still in cliffhanger.
Yep.
But yeah. So there's that. Also, next season, episode 1, more damned Ortegas.
More Ortegas.
We want all. Yeah, we need an episode entitled Ortegas is his day.
Oh, jeez.
Too many S's in there.
Yes, we do.
That would be cool, actually.
Note to the showrunners: more Ortegas.
Yeah. Everybody else has got plenty of development in their own damned app.
Now it's her turn. When's my time? When's my time? Anyways, that's all the time we have for this episode of Treknicity. Thank you for joining us as we talk about all things Star Trek. Please be sure to check us out on our wonderful socials listed above. Join us as we enter our 10th year of Red Shirt Geeks by the Red Shirt Geeks by viewing all of our content at redshirtgeeks.tv. Also, please join us on the next episode as we say goodbye to the Treknicity podcast and prepare for our new show, The Red Shirt Geeks. I'm Lars.
I'm Patrick.
And to remember, go boldly, and to rock out, which is Spock out. We will see you next time. Have a good one, folks.